It's time to accelerate. Hi, I'm your host, Andy Paul. Join me as I host conversations with the leading experts in sales, marketing, sales automation, sales process, leadership, management, training, coaching, any resource that I believe to help you accelerate the growth of your sales, your business, and most importantly, you. Hello and welcome to the show. My guest today is Alen Mayer, author, speaker, sales consultant, written a book called Selling for Introverts. And there's this misperception held by many managers and sales leaders that there is a specific type of personality that a person is required to have in order to succeed in sales. The classic hunter or the closer, or somebody who's really outgoing or very aggressive. Maybe that stereotypical picture of a used car salesman. And the thinking is that the quiet, thoughtful, deliberate introvert doesn't have the people skills that are required to succeed in today's rough and tumble and fast-paced business environment. And Alen is going to help us sort out the fact from the fiction to help you make sure that you hire the right salespeople and maybe give some encouragement to those introverts who are looking to succeed in sales. So, Alen, welcome to the show.
Andy, thank you for having me today.
So take a minute, introduce yourself, tell us what you do.
My name is Alen Mayer. I'm a chief sales introvert. I've been in sales for, I would say, over 20 years now. First part of my career in Europe. And I didn't know what introvert is till a few years ago. But I started selling totally in an introverted way of selling. My first sales role was selling bulldozers, excavators. I didn't know anything about it. So what I did do, it's a natural thing for introverts, asking a million questions.
Right.
And all my first prospects were really eager to actually speak with me because I asked about the challenges, issues, everything, because I didn't know anything about bulldozers, right? So, and they were surprised that finally somebody asked them questions versus just talking and pitching and trying to sell them something. And that's how I started.
That's a really interesting perspective, right? Is that maybe if we just start at the beginning, perhaps one defining characteristic difference between introverts and extroverts is perhaps introverts lead with questions, a little more focused on the people they're speaking with as opposed to their process and themselves.
That's true, Andy. And the thing is that introverts have game, but lots of people don't understand what is so unique or what are the strengths of introverts. And sometimes if you're a sales manager, director of sales, you have quiet guys sitting in a corner, not really jumping in to share their opinion, but there are more, I would say they have a composure, calm in the storm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And people mistaken this for being too reserved, too shy. But we actually sit back to give ourselves a better vantage point. And then we actually jump in when we have something to share. We are not just talking to talk.
I remember, and I tell this story, I think I've told it once before on the show, but in my first sales job with a big computer company, I was sent to a 2-week training class to learn how to sell. And you're sent back to your branch office with an envelope that's the evaluation from the instructor. And a bad evaluation would lead for you to be fired because, they were trying to winnow out the people that couldn't sell. And I come back from my class and I give my envelope, the evaluation, to the branch manager. I didn't see it because it was in a sealed envelope. And he asked me, well, how'd the class go? And I said, well, I thought it was okay. And he looks at the paper and he said, well, they think we should fire you.
Oh, my goodness.
And I said, well, why? Well, because you were too analytical. Right? I mean, I wasn't going around being the glad hand, shaking everybody's hand. I said sort of that stereotypical outgoing sales personality. I was a little more reserved and a little more analytical, and they just didn't think that was going to be a fit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if I may comment on it, that today's business culture is totally geared toward the go-getters, team players, networker, like a person it's all about power, cutthroat competition, deals, leverage, right? And all the ads, job postings are similar. Like you have expressions like working well with others, dynamic, driven, team player, shows initiative. It sounds like actually a disaster for the introverts, right?
Right. Well, and yeah. And as I said, people program that into their personality assessments, whatever they use for screening candidates for sales jobs. Yeah, they're going to screen out a bunch of the introverts.
And the flip side on the coin, I would say it's just as important. You want to have a strong work ethic. You want to have independent self-starters, self-motivated, persistent people, trustworthy, curious, innovative, problem solvers, independent thinkers. These are all characteristics of introverts. So I believe any sales team should have yin and yang, both parts of the equation.
So, as I said before, I love your book, Selling for Introverts. So, what was the motivation to sell it? Or, excuse me, to write it? I'm sorry.
Well, it's, I read many years ago, if write like nobody's gonna ever read it, right? So it was not written to make big money, etc., etc. But it was more instructions, experience, what I have, and gathering my thoughts in one place, simply because there's so many misperceptions out there where people are saying, oh, introverts are shy, introverts are this, introverts are that. It's not so important what we are, but how can we help companies? And many times we are overlooked because we are not the loudest people in a room. We are not there just to promote ourselves. No, we will stand back and share our opinions or our thoughts with our managers in one-on-one setting versus in a group setting. So I started thinking and writing and reading more. And Susan Cain, with her beautiful book, The Power of Quiet, she opened the door for many introverts socially, and people start talking about it. But I realized I managed people in my sales career. I managed lots of extroverts and lots of introverts, and I subconsciously knew how to approach introverts, how to close the door, have one-on-one conversation with them, what motivates them, and I also knew how to motivate extroverts. And it was all about, positive thinking and some flashy stuff. So lots of managers are not aware they have this dual approach to management. They know they need to manage people, but you can group people in two major groups. And I'm simplifying, I know. But it's all about, if you go around the room, and I was coaching recently one company, and the manager was going around the room asking questions. And of course, introverts are like a deer in a headlight. Well, like I cannot give you amazing answer now. Give me 2 minutes, I'll give you a good answer.
Right.
And this guy didn't understand that. He was pushing. Come on, why are you so quiet? Why are you not doing anything? And I said, let's stop. Let's take a time break now. Let's give 2 minutes to everybody to, write down what they would like to suggest, and then we'll go around the room. Guess what? The quietest guy had the best idea. But you cannot force introverts to make a good to give you the first answer. We need to comprehend it. We need to analyze what we want to say. We need to make sure that the words we are going to say, they are really the best ones, that we stand behind them.
So if you're a sales manager, a sales leader, CEO of a small company, small mid-sized company, and you have open sales positions, how do you make sure you're really giving adequate consideration to all types of candidates, right? The ones, to me, it seems like it starts with the job description, because I've written about this in the past myself, is that companies start their job descriptions with the characteristics that you talked about before, the aggressive, outgoing, dynamic, so on. And it seems like they're suddenly excluding so much of the population that's out there that could, as you said, could really benefit the customer. But also they're looking for characteristics that are all about the sales process, not the customer.
You're totally right. Lots of ads out there, they are trying to have an outgoing person, a hunter, but also a person who's going to build relationships. And it's impossible to have this in one person. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
So the extroverts, they will do a great job hunting and speaking with 20, 50. They're not afraid of the phone. They will speak with 50, 100 people a day if they need to. But who will follow through with these clients? Who will actually ask questions? Who will build the long-term relationship? Not that kind of guy. You need introverts for that. So it's all about knowing what you're looking for, not in one person, but a majority of this person's daily activities would be either to build a relationship or just hunt and speak with many people. And the difference is, I call it traditional salespeople that we all witnessed in the last 30, 40 years, the generic sales trainings where you have hunters and they do this and do that, but you don't have people on your team who are really matching a fix with a need, who will go out there, who will go with a passion, who will know what they're selling, who will believe in what they're selling. Lots of extroverts, they see sales as a job. Today they're selling computers, next day they'll sell software, then cars, whatever. There's no connection. And with introverts, if we are in, we are in. We have this kind of mental connection. We don't see the job as sales only. We are there. We need to have a connection to the product, to service, to company, to even the owners, whatever it is. And then based on that, we can go out, because we love to be prepared, over prepared, I would like to say. So if you go and reach out
Yes,
to
that's probably true as well.
you know that, right?
Right.
So if you go out and try to connect with your clients for the first time, you'll know everything about them, everything that's you can find on Google. And I wrote many years ago, my first book was called Trigger Events.
Right.
And lots of people after that start writing about trigger events. And I based it, I didn't know then, I based it on my introvert research ability, where I was trying to find out what's happening within the company to have a good reason to call. So if, for example, if they change the VP of sales, great thing. I have a trigger event that's happening right now, new VP of sales, guess what? He's going to change lots of things. So all the contracts are gone, and I have opportunity to come in and pitch my stuff. But it's based on the event, on my research.
Mm-hmm.
Extroverts, they hate this. They rather pick up the phone and call and try to establish relationship over the phone, which is fine. But one thing is, if you're screening for candidates, if you want hunters, then put in your ad, call for more information. No introvert will ever pick up the phone and call and ask about it. So that's how you know this, right?
That's a great line. Well, yeah, I think for the job descriptions too, is when I write one, and maybe this again just reflects my own sort of introvert background, is that I want to lead with qualities like problem solver, curious, analytical, because that's really what the customer is looking for the salesperson to do, to help them solve a problem or achieve an objective that they have in mind for their business, and they want to be able to make that decision in the shortest period of time possible. And if you're so process oriented, it's all about me and what I do and how many calls I'm making, and then I'm getting brownie points just because I've reached out and touched you, but I'm not converting you into a serious prospect. That doesn't help a company at all. It doesn't help the customer at all.
Excellent point. I mean, it's all about what you try to accomplish. And extroverts, they often think on their feet. They make quick decisions. They love to spring into action at the moment's notice. If you give them a list here of 20 names, call, they will pick up the phone because they enjoy interactions with others. They will book meetings because they're outgoing, talkative, friendly, So it's easier if you have ideal candidate profile already available. But if you want to, what you just explained, if you want to have a person who's going to be there and build a relationship and not just think about touches or calls, but really doing something more meaningful, then it's all about finding introverts.
So you touched on this earlier. What should managers do to start assessing the people that they have working for them? Because I said you really can't use a one-size-fits-all management style when you've got extroverts and introverts, a group of people together. So what are the steps they should do to start sort of assessing and identifying the types?
Well, first we need to go and search from within, which means if you're an extrovert, you're probably going to hire people like you. It's easier. It's known. You know how to approach, you know how to talk to extroverts. Life is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have a quiet guy and you feel sometimes awkward talking to this guy, but it's not about being shy. Again, it's all about approaching people in a setting that's best for them. And I'll come back to that in a few seconds. Here's the thing. When you're selling, ask yourself, are you selling to extroverts or introverts? Because if somebody tries to sell something to me, I don't care about chit chat. I don't care about small talk. You're here, let's talk. And introverts are like that. Focused, driven when it comes to the topic at hand, not 20 minutes of schmoozing or talking about the weather, whatever. So if you hire people or if you manage a sales team, you have to ask yourself, my clients, what kind of profile of clients I have? Are they quiet? Are they more, I would say, more action kind of guys? They're more on the extrovert side. And then it's easy for me to manage my team. But also, I need to do some kind of evaluation of my team. And I'm not saying you have to take them through 3 days of special training to understand this. There are lots of, and I have even on my website, I have a free tool that you can do like a 15 question test where you can at least try to understand what's your team all about. And you can even send people to do this kind of evaluation just for you to understand you have majority of extroverts or introverts. And it's all depending on a sales manager.
Right.
Because it's simple. Like I hire lots of introverts because sometimes, I just simply try to have people that it's easier to relate to. Then
sure. So tell us where they can find the assessment on your website.
Oh, it's alenmayer.com, alenmayer.com/sales quiz. But it's very simple to find. And I want to make actually 3, 4 points, quick points,
Mm-hmm.
how to manage them. So first, you have to identify your introverts. Then you have to study them, like observe them, how they interact with clients, listen to their calls, listen to how they speak with their colleagues, and see if they prefer to work alone. Then give them a quiet corner. They will do amazing things. It's not about open space in your office. It's about giving the opportunity for people to do what they like the most. I hate talking when I was working even for a large company. We had open space, 20 guys talking about sports and this and that, and I know I had to do my job. So, I needed some quiet spot. I went to conference room. I did my calls in a conference room because I love networking. I mean, I love connecting with my colleagues, but I also want to do my job. If I don't have the environment to do that, I will not be successful. So, second point was studying your introverts, and then try to improve your communication with your introverts as a manager, because we are creatures of comfort, and we learn best in our comfort zone. And our interaction with our peers, or actually a lack of interaction, it could be a really integral part of everything. So introverts are very often quiet. They seek to please, and they will be more receptive if they view manager as an authority figure and not as a friend. You see the difference?
So I want to explore that after the break. We're coming up on a break, but I do want to explore that point. We'll come back to it. My guest today is Alen Mayer. He's going to share with us some more of his tips about how to manage and work with introverts in sales, and how introverts can really become one of your best resources in sales as opposed to the stereotypical extrovert. And we'll be right back. Hi, this is Andy. Connect and Sell is used by sales reps at nearly 1,000 companies, including hundreds of technology startups and several Fortune 500 companies, to overcome the challenges of getting prospects on the phone. Companies using Connect and Sell grow their revenues faster by enabling their sales reps to have more sales conversations in 90 minutes than they could otherwise achieve in an entire week. Connect and Sell can be deployed directly to your sales reps, or you can take advantage of their outbound on-demand service, which delivers qualified prospect meetings scheduled directly on your sales reps' calendars. Visit connectandsell.com to learn more about how Connect and Sell can start filling your pipeline today. So before the break, you had brought up this question about managing introverts more like a boss than a friend.
Well, here's the thing. I was a sales manager, director of sales, and I'm actually working with lots of people in the same position. And they think with introverts you have to be same as with extroverts. You try to be the friend and go for drinks and etc., which is still fine. But to manage introverts, they need to see you as an expert or as an authority figure, which means you have to speak clearly with them with authority, but not with anger. When describing a task, you have to use specifics with introverts. When walking your introvert through a task, then try to explain all the aspects of the task and slice it into blocks that introvert can process quickly. And this even involves trial and error. And then include examples how not to do the task. And you can even smile and laugh enough to foster trust and to encourage your introvert to voice any concerns. But it has to be in a one-on-one conversation, not in front of other people, because we will actually close ourselves. We will not allow anybody to see our emotions and share our opinion, because we feel even threatened with this kind of setting. So try to actually, when you speak with your introverts, if you try to instruct them to do something, let them even mirror your instruction to ensure that your expectations are clear. We love knowing what's expected from us, and we will probably overachieve the goals that we have. But we need to know, we need to be approached in a way that's actually easier for us to understand what's expected from us. And point number 2, it's I suggest for lots of actually introverts to take assertiveness training class, because we struggle with assertiveness, and it can be mastered, it can be improved by anyone. I'm saying this because general introverts tend to respond favorably to structure. And this assertiveness training classes, it's good even to actually send the whole team, introverts and extroverts, to these classes. Because they are geared toward encouraging socially appropriate levels of assertion on both sides of the fence, right? So extroverts learn to temper their assertions while interacting with introverts, and introverts learn to identify situations when they need to step up and be more assertive. So that would play to their advantage. And that's how you build better team, because I call it enlarging the circle. Because today, a whole business world is in love with extroverts, and you need to enlarge the circle, involve introverts here to have effective communication internally. And guess what? If extroverts can be quiet for 15 minutes, they could learn amazing things for introverts: how to speak with clients, how to observe the situations, and how to even be more persuasive, because we are passionate about what we are doing. We will not give up easily. If it's hard, that's fine. We'll do it anyway.
So a question for you about if someone is an introvert and they're looking for a sales job, is there a way they can use being an introvert to their advantage and how they sell themselves to a potential employer?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's all about positioning yourself as an expert in what you're doing. So forget about big words that every extrovert will use, and think about your strengths. So making the connection. Every company today, they're claiming they would like to build a relationship with clients, which is, we know it's not true.
Right.
But introverts will never accept a job that they don't feel like this is something they can excel, they can be amazing doing it. So they will ask questions at the interview. And I had many years ago, I had interview with a huge corporation, and guess what? 80% of the time they were talking and they were interviewing me. And I was asking a million questions. I was prepared. I asked a million questions. And at the end, the guy said, guess what? This is probably the best interview I had in a long, long time. And I didn't say anything about me.
Right.
And I was like, Jesus, like I want to have opportunity to, sell myself even. And
you just described the ideal sales call, though, right? I mean, if you're going to meet with a big presentation to a customer, I mean, I know I always do this is I'll let the customer do 80% of the talking, even though I'm supposed to be doing the presenting, because I'm asking the questions, I'm probing, and they're really answering their own questions they might have through the questions they're given, through the answers they're providing me.
And isn't it easier for you then to match a fix with their need?
Yeah, right.
See? Yeah, so it's all about, but the introverts will never accept. I had, throughout my 20 years of sales career, I had opportunities to work for some companies, and I know I would really be the worst guy there. I didn't want to accept job because I didn't feel like, I mean, it was maybe good money, but I know I would not be successful because it was all geared towards, go out and push things to happen and this and that. And I'm not like that. And luckily, I was aware of my weaknesses. And of course, it's nothing look like too crazy that we cannot fight against. But, why would you accept a job that you are not feeling, that your heart is not in it?
Exactly.
But for some people, it's fine. But for introverts, no. If they cannot respect what they're doing, respect their colleagues, the manager, they will not be successful. They maybe get a job, they will work there because of the financial situation, but they were looking for another job fast.
All right. Well, I have a hypothetical scenario for you that this is one actually I posed all my guests on the show, but maybe you can consider this and approach it from perspective of an introverted sales manager. Is you've been hired by a company, you're a new sales manager hired into a company whose sales have been stagnated and stalled, and new management is really anxious for a change. So what are the two things you would do in the first week that could have the biggest impact?
Ooh, do I have 2 minutes to write it down first?
No, as a matter of fact.
Okay. Well, it's always, I believe in evaluation. I believe in evolution versus revolution. Okay. And if I may do something historical here, historical facts. I live in Canada, and in Canada, everything still to this day about evolution. So here's where we are. How can we grow and not change everything, and really use what we have to improve? Versus U.S. market is lots of revolution. Even politicians are doing revolution. Let's change everything, and whatever was before us, it's not good. Let's change everything and have it, different.
Right.
Right. So it's lots of things like that people don't understand about Canadians, and I'm glad to say that in Canada I fit perfectly because it's all about evolution. And in the sales role, sales training, whatever, it's all about, I believe in finding out what worked, why did it work, and what can be improved. Because it's easy to change people, but the system and processes that are in place, for some reason they were in place. And let's see how we can use this to improve the future versus, I believe in past, present, and future time frame. And lots of people I met, and I have to say they are extroverts. They forget about past, they forget about present. They just talk about the future. Here's how it should be, which is fine. But you cannot change everything so easily.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question.
You did. Good answer. I like it. All right. So I've got some rapid fire questions for you that we always wrap up the show with. So if you can give me one word responses or you can elaborate if you wish. So what's the most powerful sales tool in your sales arsenal?
Listening.
What's the one book every salesperson should read?
I would say selling for introverts, but I would actually say every salesperson. Oh my goodness, I read so many sales books.
It doesn't even need to be a sales book.
I would say Quiet, The Power of Introverts, because it gives you the approach, understanding of social behavior of people, and it gives you idea that I would say between 33 and 40% of population in North America are introverts. And this is from the guy who's coming from Europe, and I was recently in Germany. Guess what? If you're an extrovert, they will frown upon you because, it's just different culture.
Right.
And the stereotypes that we have, if American goes to Europe, loud, obnoxious, they really see people like that. And if I'm coming from Canada, oh, you're one of them, which means whatever, right? But it's all about understanding yourself, your culture, where you fit in, and your customer's culture. That's actually more important.
Okay. So who's your sales role model?
My sales role model. It was my first manager, German guy, who was a big extrovert, but who was really listening to me and motivating me to come out of my shell in terms of not forgetting my introvertism, but stepping up when I need to step up.
So what's your what's your favorite music to listen to psych yourself up for an important sales call?
Oh my goodness. I would say I love Depeche Mode. So it's all 80s stuff. It brings me back in time, and it just, I don't know.
I think that's the first time we've had Depeche Mode. We've had lots of 80 rock answers, so that's good. So the one question you get asked most frequently by salespeople.
That's a very easy one. What's the best sales script out there?
The best sales
script.
Okay.
Yeah, can you give me, like in my trainings, they ask me, give me the best sales script, or like a silver bullet.
Right.
Which does not exist.
Does not exist, of course. Yeah. Well, good. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. Guest has been Alen Mayer. And Alen, how can people learn more about you?
Andy, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm honored to have a chance to speak about this topic that's really close to my heart. I'm doing lots of different training sessions, but selling for introverts, it's really close to my heart. And if people want to learn more about me, they can go to the website introvertsinbusiness.com. That's one of my books about introverts in business, or introvertsinsales.com, or simply alenmayer.com, ALENMAYER.com.
Great. Well, yeah, I recommend people pick up your book and read it. Introverts for Selling, or Selling for Introverts, excuse me. Sorry to invert that. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's well worth reading. So remember, appreciate everybody joining us today. Remember, if you want to accelerate your sales and amp up your business, then you have to deliberately learn something new every day that will empower you to achieve your goals. And I think we helped you with that today. So until next time, this is Andy Paul. Good selling, everyone. Thanks for listening to the show. If you like what you heard and want to make sure you don't miss any upcoming episodes, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Stitcher.com. For more information about today's guest, visit my website at andypaul.com.